There has been a fan theory going around about The Incredibles that has really made me question everything I thought I knew about the film. The theory goes like this. Syndrome is secretly Mr. Incredible's son, and there is some evidence that backs this up, but I wanted to know for sure, so I decided to ask the filmmakers, and this time, I went all the way to the top. The Incredibles opens with the glory days of the heroes. We see Mr. Incredible save a cat from a tree, stop criminals, fight a supervillain, and encounter his biggest fan, an aspiring sidekick who calls himself Incrediboy, also known as Buddy. Buddy, of course, later becomes Syndrome, a supervillain hell-bent on destroying Mr. Incredible and his family. As we know, Syndrome's villain arc begins after Mr. Incredible rejects his help, crushing the young Buddy's dream of fighting crime alongside the famed superhero.
You can't count on anyone, especially your heroes.
But what if there was more to this? What if this was not just a rejection from Buddy's idol? What if it was also a rejection from his father? This theory would explain why Buddy is so intent on proving himself to Mr. Incredible and destroying his life even after 15 years. Because that also gives new meaning to the scene where Syndrome callously fires missiles at Mr. Incredible's family.
You'll get over it. I seem to recall you prefer to work alone.
Maybe he views this new family as a way of Mr. Incredible replacing his firstborn son. Now, this may sound far-fetched, and I'll admit a lot of the theory is based on conjecture, but there is one piece of hard evidence that cannot be ignored. Because if you look closely at Buddy and Mr. Incredible, something jumps out. There are some striking similarities. Like Mr. Incredible, Buddy has blue eyes, blondish hair, a wide jawline, and the same nose. You could argue that this resemblance is just a coincidence, but you'd be wrong, because this is animation we're talking about, a medium where every single detail has to be carefully designed. And on top of that, if there's one thing I've heard about director Brad Bird, it's that he's insanely meticulous when it comes to the details of his films.
Every single thing that you see on screen has to be created.
There is one detail about Syndrome I remember finding out way back when I had the DVD of The Incredibles. As a kid, I loved watching behind the scenes featurettes commonly found on DVDs. And on one of these featurettes, I remember hearing that the animators cheekily designed the antagonist of this film to resemble the film's director, Brad Bird. It's a funny anecdote, but it comes with a problem. Because I can accept that maybe the animators thought it would be fun to design Syndrome as a caricature of Brad Bird. But what doesn't make sense to me is why they would also give Mr. Incredible some of the same features, unless there was a familial connection between these two characters. I knew that if I wanted to get the truth, I would have to go to the character designers and animators behind both of these characters. And so I got to researching. Like in my previous Incredibles video, I compiled a list of Pixar filmmakers who worked on the film. But unlike my previous video, I did not have much success this time. And after a couple of days with no responses, I realized I'd need to change my tactic. If you've watched my previous Incredibles video, you know that I was successfully able to get a hold of 4 Pixar filmmakers, 4 key players who made that video possible. I've been careful not to overstep with my contacts. I never want to be a bother to the filmmakers who are kind enough to talk to me. But now, I was running out of options, and I had to make a choice. Either I continue to send cold emails, which was not working, or I try to see if the people I talked to before would be willing to answer one more question. I decided it was worth a shot. I sent emails to my 4 contacts, Jifwe Bodo, Michael Kachula, Doug Sweetland, and Mark Andrews. I asked them why both characters were visually based on director Brad Bird, because I knew their answers to that simple question could either debunk or confirm this fan theory. And just in case that question didn't lead anywhere, I sent a 5th email to a Pixar insider explaining the fan theory in detail. My first response came from Mark Andrews. He told me that Tony Facilli, one of the character designers, loved to base characters on real people. Mark said you can see elements of Brad Bird in Mr. Incredible, Syndrome, and Dash. So 2 related characters and Syndrome. I wondered if Tony Facilli had based any other characters on real people, but Mark said no. He just did it with Brad. This conversation with Mark raised more questions than answers for me. I wasn't confident that Mark's responses debunked the fan theory in any way. Fortunately, Mark wasn't the only contact who responded. Not only did Doug Sweetland return my email, but he took it a step further. He texted Teddy Newton, the man who designed the characters alongside Tony Facilli. And Teddy's answer fascinated me. Teddy said, "Oftentimes when I'm designing a character, if I hear the voice, I can see the face." In the case of those two characters, as well as others in the cast, Brad often describes his characters by speaking like them. He'd do lines relating the way they sounded. This was often better than hearing lengthy descriptions. I was getting somewhere. But just to cover all my bases, I still wanted to hear what that Pixar insider had to say. Lou Romano was the film's production designer and a Pixar voice actor, who you may recognize as the voice of Ratatouille's Linguini and this guy from The Incredibles.
Coincidence? I think not!
I reached out to him, not expecting a response, and so I was surprised when I received this email. So it looks like this fan theory is just a fan theory. It does seem like the animators and character designers just modeled these characters off of Brad as a sort of homage. But what do you think? Is Syndrome secretly Mr. Incredible's son, or is this all just an inside joke among the animators?